So back to this Merkaba, basically like I'm saying, the hexagon in the middle is the physical you. Now another way you can look at this is when you come into existence, you become, okay? B-E-C-O-M-E, you become. Another way you can look at this Merkaba is think of the hexagon in the middle. As I said, that's the physical you. So you become. So that hexagon is a become. It's a honeybee's comb. It's a honeycomb. It's a bee's comb. So when you become, you becomb. And in the middle of that Merkaba is your honeycomb or your hex. That's the physical body. That's your becomb. And when you come here, all you got to do is be calm and it'll all be clear to you. Don't panic. Think about what I said and that'll be a good way to remember it. That's how you spawn into existence, or the spirit wills itself into being via the Merkaba vehicle. So you're in your Merkaba right now, as I stated. When you become, you become. The lower you can be represented by the brain, the higher you can be represented by the mind. And if you look at the way all of this work, they say that your head is your dome, because your head is your dome. It's built just like the arch dome above you, like this cosmic egg. And the Pope and everybody telling you that when they put them little domes on their head. There's a spiral at the center of your head that represent this vortex energy that's at the center of the earth, that's creating the same thing in the earth. And there's a spiral, all of your hair spiral out when it grow, and your head is called your dome or your crown. And if you look at a crown, it's made just like the bee goddess symbol. And if you look at the dome, which is another word for your head, the D in dome is just like the dome, the firmament. So all of this stuff tie in, y'all. And the Egyptian hieroglyph for net is the alphabet that we use for D. Understand, like I said, all the alphabets are just symbols or glyphs. So the alphabet we use for capital D is the hieroglyph that our ancestors used for the word net. And the word net, when they used it, it would have been the same word we use for firmament or dome today. So that's how we get the word planet, because it's a plane enclosed in a net. And the ancestors called the dome above us a net. We call it a dome today, but the letter D comes from this ancient hieroglyph which represents net. And that all goes back to the beehive. And on a basketball court, they say you play b-ball, and the ball have to go through the net. And if you look at the symbol that's on the basketball, it's this Dogon symbol of the bee goddess. So I'll be getting into that in a whole nother different video. I just wanted to throw it out there in this one. We're gonna move on. So back to the Merkaba, like I said, in the middle, the hexagon represents you. Now, a lot of people say that the body is the 666 carbon. People, that spookism, it's making you estranged to your own self. You're gonna hate yourself if you keep interpreting this knowledge negative, people. The ancestors broke it down, telling us how to perceive this reality. So this Merkaba, this 666 carbon, or this hex, is nothing to look at negative. This 666 carbon, when you say carbon, the root word is ka. We know ka is the soul again, the spirit energy. All right, the carbon, the 666, is nothing but the 360. 6 go into the 360 and squares itself out. If you look at this 6-pointed star, this Merkaba, if you was to draw it all out, every point around it, you would get a circle or 360 degrees. All right, on this Merkaba, like I said, on each side you have your hourglasses or your bow ties. So the bow tie is the hourglass, and it represents this same thing, okay? There's a reason why the Masons wear those bow ties. And if you look at the DNA spiral, you can see the bow ties. You can also see, like I said, a cosmic eye. If you take that cosmic eye and keep making a continuum with it, you get the DNA. And the midpoint is always the football. At each end of the field is touchdown. So when you go in the ground, that's a touchdown at that end, which would be one field goal, one end of the Dogon symbol. And you go back up to the dome, the most high, which would be the other end, field goal on that end of the Dogon symbol. So I'm showing you how this works. All of this stuff, they use it in the sports fields, in the basketball courts. I'm going to be showing you how I work on a tennis court, basketball court, football field, in a courtroom. I'm going to be showing you how the cosmology play out in all of this stuff during these next series. This is just a long introduction, but it's so important that I rush all of this information out here in this, so when I get into the future stuff, y'all will get it very quickly. So the divine feminine has a dual nature. So what you call a male or a man is just another expression of her. I'm going to say that again. The divine feminine has a dual nature, and what you're calling a man or a male is just another expression of her. Okay? So when you say man and male, like I said, even the word man and male and masculine starts with ma. Okay, he's just another expression of her. She has both ends, and she can give birth to the X and the Y. So understand that the female has both the yin and the yang in her chromosome, where the X chromosome is both of the Ys. Y plus Y equals X, as I stated previously. So this Merkaba, they call it the starship that you use to travel through the Stargate. There is no Stargate. There is no Stargate, people. There's a cosmic womb, okay? There's a vortex pole energy that we make our cosmic journey through. We travel within this cosmic egg, people. There are no stargates, and outer space is an illusion. So when you say that you're traveling your Merkaba through a stargate, that's science fiction given to us by people who want to deceive us from our true cosmology. So there are no stargates. There's only a hole, a black hole at the center of the earth. There's only a vortex energy, a pole energy. And what you are calling the starship, it's not a starship. It's the mothership, people. You got to keep that in mind. There are two kind of ships. The matriarch ship is the mothership. That's the Merkaba. The patriarch is the starship, and y'all confusing that. The Merkaba is the mothership, not the starship. We call it the six-pointed star, but it's the mothership because the hex in the middle is you, the singularity, the person that's made by the lower self and the higher self, like I said, all created by the divine feminine. When you look at the X, you're looking at the Merkaba itself. The X is only as above, so below, just like the Merkaba. So, like I said, a Merkaba is made by one triangle up and one triangle down. The X is made by one Y up and one Y down. So the X and the Merkaba is the same thing. It's not a starship, it's a mothership or an X ship, okay? And Earth is planet X, and that's got something to do with all of this Nibiru planet X spookism that they seeding out there. See, all of the whole planet X deception and the Nibiru deception is a psychological attack on the divine feminine. When they get you scared of planet X crashing in the earth and all that old baloney crap, they get you in fear about this cosmology that I'm giving you, this divine feminine cosmology. Y'all ain't aware of this cosmology, and they keep you away from it by seeding and misinterpreting the cosmology with fear seeds. Nibiru and Planet X. Planet X is the Earth. It's the hive. Okay, the X is the feminine chromosome. That's the divine feminine, the queen bee who sits above the hive. And we are her children, her beings. All right, like I said, let's get back to this mothership or this Merkaba. The hex in the middle is you, the singularity. It's always a singularity when there's an intersection. If you take two lines and cross them, you'll get a point or a dot. Okay, just the same thing with this Merkaba. When you connect both of these triangles, you get you. You get you in the middle. The higher self, lower self creates the physical you. This same thing is represented, as I said, when you connect them, you get the hexagon in the middle of the Merkaba, which is the cube. And they try to make this a fear tactic by going into the Saturn's hex and all of that. But their hex is really the matrix. Their hex is what you get when you don't think outside of the normal society box. So Satan hex is real, or Saturn's hex. Saturn planet is a hoax. It's not nothing out of space out there you can go and visit. Okay, the planets and all of that are just luminaries, holograms. I'll get into that in more videos as I've done in previous ones. But staying on subject, like I said, the Saturn's hex is the illusion world, the fake cosmology, the heliocentrism. If you don't think outside of that, if you never question that solar system and that heliocentric viewpoint, you're going to be trapped in a matrix. And when you say matrix, it's a matrix. It's a trick of the Ma. They tricking you out of the mother cosmology. So when you get trapped in their Ma tricks, then tricks are on you, you silly rabbit. Okay, you silly rabbi. Okay, fake Jews. Okay, your rabbits, Robbie, blinded by Ra, can't see the mother. Blinded by the sunlight, can't see the mother. That's what it is. That's what they did to us, y'all. The black Madonna and child is signifying everything I'm telling you. The mother on the throne with the baby breastfeeding. That's as above, so below. Our ancestors had that same system in their cosmology. They would never have the sun breastfeeding the earth. They would always have the earth come first. That's why it's called the Madonna. Okay, our ancestors saw the way the sun and the luminaries served the earth. They saw the way the sun served the earth. They looked at the sun as the masculine, the masculine. The sun reveals the horizon. That's your Horus energy. All it does is shine on the earth to reveal that horizon, the place where the yin meets the yang, where the sky meets the ground. As I move on, I'm gonna break this concept down to you deeply. How the sun served the earth and our ancestors practiced as above, so below, meaning that the man served the woman, and that's where we get the whole concept marriage or marriage with the man getting on his knee. So we're gonna get deep into that later in this video. This stuff go deep, y'all. The rabbit hole goes deep. The rabbi hole. When we say the rabbit hole, the knowledge that the rabbi is hiding and all these secret societies hiding. So let's go deep down the rabbi hole, the rabbit hole. They hiding it from you and you get caught up in the matrix or the trick of the Ma. It's all about the matriarch cosmology. I keep telling y'all it's about Big Mama, the Ma, M-A. So when you get caught up in their matrix, you're in a trick and they tricking you like you still under the divine feminine, but you're really under the patriarch. You're really under the man's world, the masculine energy, okay? The sun worship, because they tell you the sun gave birth to the earth in their cosmology. So that's the whole matrix right there. It's a trick of the Ma. How can he give birth to his mama? That's the whole trick, or the matrix, the matrix, okay? When we talk about this Merkaba and the blending of the lower self and higher self, creating you into existence, that play out on many different layers. Now, as far as how you come into existence with the Merkaba, that's a whole nother lecture, because what happens is the soul actually uses carbon, which is sit. And when you say sit, you're just talking about 360. It's all the same. 360 degrees. It's a circle. This 360, it keeps spiraling. So with this Merkaba thing, it's actually the soul willing itself into existence by using carbon. So when you say carbon, it's the ka, it's the work of the soul here, willing itself into existence through what we call this element carbon. We ain't separate from these elements. Our spirit, soul, and all of that is made up of all of these different elements, and they will itself into existence. It's like it projects itself in a continuum, layer upon layer. So you started in one layer and kept wielding and projecting and building upon the layers until you came into this existence, this physical plane. So the soul came here through the use of carbon. What they call the sit carbon body is actually what we looking at when we look at the hets in the middle of the Merkaba. You looking at the body, the physical you, but the whole Merkaba is around you, or your aura. That's the invisible part that's making up the physical you right now. So you are in your mothership traveling in this cosmos right now, or in this cosmic egg. It's that plain and simple, people. It's not a bunch of crazy stories that they got us sidetracked with. That ain't gonna help our children, all right? This gonna let them know about themselves and how all of this stuff tie into them, y'all. We got to get out of spookism. I'm only trying to help you. Now, like I said, the soul used carbon to come here. So when you say carbon, it's a bonding of the ka. The ka used certain elements and willed itself into existence by the use of the Elohim, or the elements, through each layer until it found itself into the womb of the woman, into the galaxy. What they're calling the Milky Way is really the vortex spiral at the North Pole, okay? Because all of these spirits come from the stars. The stars is rotating. They're only following the pattern of this spiral. spiral of this vortex energy. That's all the stars doing. That energy creates time. That spiral, it creates eternity. All right. Time is not linear. Time looks like this vortex pattern you see, this spiral. That's time. They want you to believe time is a straight line. The straight line is simply the meeting point, the medium. That's necessary. That's the balance. That's the foundation. That's the stability for the energy. That's the medium. Just like if you look at a battery, you got the negative and positive, but you got to have something to ground it with. So that line is the grounding. That's the horizon. That's the midpoint between what's above and what's below. That's the grounding point, the medium, the midpoint. So how it relates on us with the Merkaba is every point on the Merkaba represents a different part of your multidimensional self. But the hex in the middle is the embodiment of all those elements or all those points that intersected to get you here on a physical plane. You just a projection, okay? You're a light projection. And that's why this Merkaba look like a star, because you are actually a shining star. You projecting yourself in this cosmos now, as above, so below, just like the stars above you. So when we look up at them stars shining, them same stars, you can look at it this way, looking down upon us shining, us human beings. That's why the honey that we create, that the bees create, or the beings, the honeycombs are golden. They supposed to shine. What you manifest in this cosmic egg, your works and your manifestations supposed to shine, just like that golden honey that them bees is building in the hive. Us beings are supposed to be manifesting gold in this hive or this cosmic egg. Our works are supposed to be pleasing to the queen bee or the divine feminine above us. Okay, with this Merkaba or this mothership, it's a star based on, first of all, understand when we say star, we're not talking about the sun. Star represents a twinkling luminary in the sky. Twinkle, twinkle, little star. It's a light fixture. It's not a red ball of plasma. That's not a star. The sun is the sun. It's a solar disk. And if you read about Horus in Egyptian mythology, they said that Horus wore the sun disk above his head, not the sun spear. NASA give you a spear sun, but our Kemetic ancestors said Horus wore a sun disk. A disk is different than a spear. So this backs up what our ancients said, that the sun and moon were luminaries and that they're more like translucent discs, because they said that Horus has a solar disk, not a solar globe. So understand that when you say stars, we ain't talking about the sun. The sun is a solar disk. The moon, it's its own luminary disk. And they have yet to understand these disks. These are light orbs, celestial beings, y'all. They just different versions of what we are. They are their own Merkabas, but they're a different form of what we are, okay? It all trickle down. It's a continuum, all right? Everything go down and get smaller, but as it gets smaller, it actually get bigger, because you can say that a germ is small, but when you zoom into the germ world, now stuff get big and your numbers get big. That's why a small number in math would be something like 0.0000004488999977777. All of that before you get to just one. But look at all of those numbers. That's a lot. So that in itself is big, but it's still not made one, because it's point something. It can go on forever before it get to one, just one. So really, what are numbers? How do we perceive what's what and how much is what? The numbers are balanced. That's why when you get to 9, 9 is a spiral, and the numbers begin to repeat themselves again over and over, just like this continuation that I keep showing y'all in this yin yang with this DNA and this one going up and one going down, just like the Merkaba, just like the Dogon symbol. So when you get to 9, all of the numbers got to recycle and rebirth themselves, just like everything else. I'm telling you how it play out in this cosmic egg, in this continuum. So 9 represents it start over, that spiral. 9 is a spiral and it starts over again. So that's how it works. Birth and rebirth. rebirth is called eternity, not some Saturn matrix, moon matrix crap spookism that I once believed in my own self. It's a lot of spookism going on out there, people. We got to bring back the true meaning behind this ancient stuff and quit corrupting it with fear, because nothing is to be feared or looked at negative about none of this, y'all. Balance, people, balance. All right. So you got to redefine even what you think is large or what's big, because it's all a continuum. There's no such thing as this is larger than that or that's bigger than that. Everything in existence is a balance. Size is really an illusion. Amounts is really an illusion, because what we're seeing here is a continuum, a pattern. It's a building block type structure here where if you perceive something as small and unneeded in the system, the smallest thing you take out may have played the biggest role. So we talking about this bee goddess, we can look at it at a literal sense. The bee is a small insect, but it plays one of the most crucial roles in nature. And if all the bees were to go extinct right now, the humans would go extinct in 6 days. Now I'm gonna get more deep into that in the future, because all of this stuff is deep and it play out on every reality and aspect. It's a big continuum and we can't escape it in no aspect and on no layer of this cosmic egg. But the more you understand it, the more you create heaven for yourself. So I'm still on the macabre right now and showing you how all of this stuff relate. And to go back what I was saying about the lower self and higher self, the brain and the mind, the lower self is the part of you that vibrates slower. Okay, doesn't mean that you don't need it or it's evil. It's just a part of you that vibrates slower. It has to be polarity. So if it's a slow part, then there has to be a part of you that vibrate fast. But you need them both. That's part of being multidimensional. In this conscious community, one big misconception is you got to start vibrating higher. You got to start vibrating higher. That's a misconception. You just got to get balance. If the battery don't have balance, it don't have power. So you can vibrate more higher or more slower all you want. But if you miss the balance, you miss the ba, which is the soul. You miss the Merkaba. The ba is the balance. All right. Understand that it ain't about vibrating fast and I'm gonna accelerate my vibration. People using all of that to sell y'all products. It's about being balanced. Okay. Now, like I said, it's a part of you that vibrates slow, and it's that part of your composition that we can probably relate to the cells in the body or maybe even the atoms. But the higher you exists within you and it vibrates faster, like the part of you linked to what they would refer to as the quantum particles or the rapid moving particles that we are yet to research more and learn more about, that they just now going into. The ancestors been knew about it. So you got fast moving particles and slow moving particles, but you need both of them, just like the yin and the yang. Think about it. The sun and the moon both circuit above our head and create this currency, this energy I'm telling you about. But the sun moves faster than the moon. All right. Does that mean we don't need the moon or the moon evil? That's when you start segmenting your reality and using fear and getting into spookism. We got to use common sense and think of the creator in an intelligent way, y'all. The creator is not a dummy and with all that spookism. Now let's be mature, because the root word of mature is ma. Okay, so when you be mature, you can see nature. If you be mature, you can see nature. If you say your alphabets, the M comes, then the N comes. So LMNOP. Like I said, the M, mature, and then the N, nature. Medu, nature. The M and the N, the M come first. So understand that again, just like Y plus Y equal X, N plus N equals M, and the M is the mother. But when they take that M and create a matrix with it and create the trick of the Ma and bend the horizon, it becomes the double arch, the McDonald's symbol, which now becomes Mason, the M for Mason, which my son should be pacing, because y'all are all patriarchs today under Helios. So the real Masons know about the mama cosmology that I'm telling you about. So like I said, N plus N equals M, just like Y plus Y equals X. It's all the same thing, y'all. All of this stuff, the alphabets are symbols, okay? So when you look at an N and and you turn the other end the other way and connect them, you get the M for mother. So like I said, the M comes before the N in the alphabet, all right? Because the mama come first, just like the X come before the Y, all right? The woman come before the man. She was here first. And you can see how if you keep on making this M and this N and continue it on out, you will get a lightning type pattern, lightning rod, or the wave if you want to make it a curve or an angle. It's the same thing. Okay, the curve you can look at as feminine and the angle can be male. But really, when you look at the L, you're looking at the right angle, because the right angle is just represents the point. That's the cone. The L is the EL. When the elements intersect, they create this L, the triangle, the vortex, the yin yang that creates the spiral, the point. Think about the Batman symbol that I mentioned. The projector is the point that's projecting the sign on the clouds. So that sign is the yin yang, the sun and the moon that's projected above these clouds. All right, they're luminaries and they're on this circuit, like I said, creating this vortex energy. And the V is what the word vortex start with. And as you can see, the V represent this cone or this spiral also, just like the L. It's the intersection, because the tip of the cone is where those two lines meet. And if you keep tracing them out, it'll make a X, and it'll also make a whole nother cone facing the other way. And this is the beetle and the bee goddess, the way the antenna and the legs are made. And also, like I said, the Dogon symbol, the football field, the yin yang. Notice how the football field is 50-50, just like the yin yang symbol. 50 yards, 50 yards on the football field, and it's enclosed. It's a field and it's enclosed with a dome over it when you go to the stadium. All of this is built like this cosmos that we're in, y'all. And with this football stadium and stuff, I'm gonna get deep on that, like I said, in the future. So like I was saying about the lower self and the higher self, it's particles that vibrate fast and particles that vibrate slow, but we need them both to create the midpoints, the balances, the balances. Because when you say the word balance, it goes back to the spear, which is the 360, the lance, Sir Lancelot, and the spear. The lance is only the spear. So you say, hey, why is the arrow the spear or the line? Okay, it's the line in the middle of the circle, the horizon, the connection point, the yin and yang, where north meets south. Okay, wherever night meets day, the horizon change. The line or the radius in the middle of a circle spins as the sun and moon creates night and day all around the world at different times. It spins constantly. So the line is constantly moving, creating night and day as I speak. They say it's dark in the southern hemisphere, it's day in the northern hemisphere, based upon the circuit of the sun and moon changing that horizon line in southern hemisphere. Where night meets day revolves around a central point in this cosmic egg, and that goes back to the North Pole, and that point is the tip of the cone. And if you continue that out, like I said, you'll get an X, which is another cone. When you look at an X, you're just looking at two cones, or you're just looking at an hourglass that's open. All right, the X represents infinity. It represents that the female is divine, because like I said, it all comes from her. So going back to the low self and high self, the low vibrations and high vibrations that makes up you, because the big misconception in the conscious community is that you either vibrate high or you either vibrate low. Listen, people, there is no either or. Part of you ascending is losing the either or. You must learn to vibrate high and low equally, 50-50, yin yang, and that's when you will be balanced. And this go back to this New Orleans saint symbol. You see the tip of that is the lance. All right, this saint symbol, that's a lance or a spear. But if you point it down, it becomes an anchor. So that symbol is representative of as above, so below. So if you got a lance pointed upward, like I said, it's a spear. But when you point the lance downward, it's the anchor. And that's just like the firmament dome above you, your crown, and then your root, which is your underworld, is always as above above, so below, and they're gonna always invert one another. So if the arch above is an arch, then the underworld, like I said previously, is a bowl. So like I said, this anchor is just, again, the spear, the S-P-H-E-R-E and the S-P-E-A-R, because the spear is 360. That symbolizes eternity. And the straight line also symbolizes eternity. Okay, so those are one and the same. Just like the square and the circle, the cube and the spear, the straight line is also a symbol for eternity. All right, another one you can do is when you wrap it around in a figure 8, but that's a whole nother future video. But this just showing you how all of this stuff is the same thing. It's eternity. Everything is everything, like Lauryn Hill said. All of this stuff, like I've been telling y'all, it's the same thing. All right, there is no choice. That's an illusion. Everything is just eternity. So you got to learn how to see holistically again. The Ba is the spirit, the lance is the spear, the lance is the spear. The S-P-E-A-R and the S-P-H-E-R-E are the same thing, people. The line in the middle of the spear is the arrow, the bow and arrow. It's what separates the yin from the yang, where nights meets day. So when you look at a bow and arrow, it's just one half of the yin yang. All right, but if you put two bow and arrows back to back, you get a circle with a line in between, and that's what we're in, the cosmic egg. So where the yin meets the yang, existence can take place. So that goes back to the X again. All right, if you draw that X, you get one triangle point down, one point up, just another form of the yin yang, people. The X, the point in the middle that those triangles create, would be the earth, or the midpoint, the place where the life takes place. And this continuum is so embedded and layered into this egg that the midpoint of a human body is even where life takes place when we have sex. So the midpoint is what y'all got to keep in mind as we move on. All of these symbols, when you look at the yin yang, the S in the middle is the complete symbol. It's what connect the yin with the yang. The horizon is what connect the sky to the ground. You know, the heaven and the underworld is why the earth is able to exist in the middle, just like the yolk in the center of an egg. You got the hard white shell, then you got the soft white shell, then the yolk. This continuum play out in so many ways, and as we move on in this series, you're gonna see many. So just keep the midpoint in mind. It's like Captain Planet, y'all. Remember the cartoon Captain Planet? All of these elements that the children had in their rings, they had to shoot them up and create a point or a cone in Captain Planet. So earth, wind, fire, each one shoot their ring up, and the rings make a line, and they all meet in a point, and it creates Captain Planet. I'm gonna talk about Captain Planet symbolism in a minute, because when you say captain, you're talking about ka and pata, in. So the word captain is ka, pata, in. And I'm gonna break that down to you. That's got something to do with the ka being the soul, and pata, which is an Egyptian deity coming into existence. So pata, wielding man into existence. So when you say kapitan or captain, captain, you're talking about the Merkaba, or pata, which is the one who wielded man on a potter's wheel. But again, Ptah is patriarchal. It's a divine feminine who made man. So Ptah is an Egyptian deity that was under the corrupted Egypt when we had been deceived. But I still will use it as an example to make my point, because the science is still there. It's just given by a male deity. All of the science is still here, y'all. It's just under the Father. So you say our Father in heaven, which you should say our mother. But like I said, I'm going to talk about Captain Planet and Kapata in the future. I want to stay on point with my notes here. So like I'm saying about the higher you and lower you, okay? So where the low vibration meets the high vibration, the mid vibration is created. See, this is what they don't want y'all to know about. They getting you off track by getting you to choose a polarity. And the act of choice is an illusion. It's all one cosmic egg. Like I said, there is no, large, small, or amount in the essence we've been given. Everything is everything. It's all one system, okay? The midpoint, y'all, is the heaven. It's not about being vibrating fast or vibrating slow. It's about vibrating fast and slow equally. Where the low vibration meets the high vibration, you create the mid vibration. And they don't want you to know about that, y'all. The mid vibration is simply physicality itself. yourself. And that's the main reason they said be neutral. When I tell y'all to be at peace, the word neutral. And if you look at what a neutron is located, it's in the center. Okay, the neutron is in the center. Therefore, the earth would be considered the neutron if you want to look at it on that model. So be neutral or be balanced, okay? That's the midpoint. And so think about that. That's where the neutron is located. And that's what I promote on this channel, y'all, being neutral, being at peace, being balanced. This the reason why we ain't living. They got you in outer space, okay? Or they got you in spookism, which would be the underworld, instead of dealing with reality, which is this earth plane, the physicality, and seeing how all of these different other layers tie into this one midpoint, okay? So we trying to crawl before we walk. Now, when the low vibration meets the high vibration, the mid vibration happens, the physicality happens. You come into being, okay? Again, into this hive through this vortex energy that the divine feminine originated, that everything comes into being through this spiral process, this yin yang dance, all right, from the divine feminine. Everything acts out in existence this way. All energy comes this way, all right? So when the high vibration meets the low vibration, or the higher you meets the lower you, the midpoint is manifested. You come into being, come into existence. And remember, when I say X, that means both of those polarities just combine. So when you come into being, you come into existence. The B is the X. It's all the same thing. The B goddess is nothing but the shape of the B represents the X, or the Dogon symbol, the as above, so below. So like I said, when you come into being by the high vibration coming with the low vibration, creating a mid vibration, and you exist. And when you look at X, you just spelling out the X. And if you look at the X, you can see the higher you and a lower you making the midpoint in that alphabet, which is just a symbol. So that X got the higher you pointing up right there and the lower you pointing down. And if you was to seal that X and seal it shut on its ends, you'll get the hourglass or the bow tie. And like I said, when you say bow tie, you're talking about a tying of the bow. What's the bow? Well, for starters, the bow tie itself, again, is your X chromosome again, your hourglass, the one that makes the time, the one that creates eternity, the divine feminine, the X, the hourglass, your bow tie that your Masons wear all the time. It's a bow tie because it ties the bows. It's the midpoint. It's that tie that's in between the bows that's keeping the hourglass together, that's keeping the yin to the yang, that's keeping the Y that's pointing up connected with the Y going down, that's even making the X, or the Dogon-Sirius, okay? So it's the bow tie. It's the tie in between the bows. Again, I told y'all to keep that midpoint in mind. So that's the significance of the bow tie, all right? And just to show you what I mean about the significance of the midpoint, the tie that ties the bows, if you think of a sumo match or an old school karate fighting match, they do this same ritual for the match. So the match is the main event. That's the place it all take place. At the beginning of the match, they take a bow or a bow. They take a bow at the beginning of the match, and then they fight, and then they take a bow at the end. So it's this same cosmology you see acted out in a fight. Bow, fight, bow. So it'll be bow at the top, the arch dome, the earth would be the fight, and then the bow at the end would be the bow. It's the same thing when a comedian, when they open up the curtains or when they bow, and then when they finish the show, they take a bow. So that whole ritual comes from this cosmology, okay? And I'm gonna be giving so many examples as we go in. This is deep stuff. Everything we do in life is ritual, and this cosmology plays out in all of that. So again, the duality, the polarity, is what creates the midpoint, is what creates existence. Just like your heart is in the midpoint of your body, creating existence for you to live, as it is on a constant polarity. It's beating, it's contracting and expanding. It's on a constant yin-yang dance, as it beats. So this polarity has to take place at all times for existence to take place. It's a dance, it's a frequency, it's a rhythm that you need to tune into. It's infinity, okay? This dance will never stop. this music will never stop. The only way it'll stop is if you just stop listening to the music. The song is still playing whenever you want to tune back into it. You just got to get back on the right channel and get off NASA's channel. So as we move on, we're going to get into the significance of the bow itself here. So what exactly is the bow? Again, it's the D for dome. The bow, when you take a bow, it's the bowl, it's the D, it's the dome, the firmament dome, and the underworld. When you have the bow tie, you tie up those bows. The tie is the earth plane that tie up the underworld to the heavens above, the midpoint. It's the bow tie. It ties up those two bowls, the one, the firmament above our planisphere, and the bowl below us, the underworld. So the earth plane ties up those bowls, the bow tie or the bowl tie. Just like if you look at the football field, if you want to see how this work with the Dogon sign, because the Dogon sign is how they even set out the whole football stadium. So if you look at the football field, you can see that each end got a field goal, just like the Dogon sign showing you. That represents each side of the Y, making the X. The field itself is the earth. That's the earth plane. That's the field. That's the 50-50, where the sun and moon going around creating half night, half day on this earth plane. It's never day at the same time all the way around on this earth plane. So this earth plane is a duality itself. It's have to be day every time it's night. Always. It can never be just day all the time or just night all the time. That'll break up infinity. That'll break up the duality. I know the sunlight may vary in certain parts of the earth, but the balance is still there. When you understand the way the sun and moon circuit, they go in a spiral pattern up and down, which I'll be going into deeply in the future also. So like I said, on the football field, the field would be the earth plane. At the 50-yard line, in the middle of the field, that will be where night meets day on the earth plane, okay? And each field goal would represent, one would represent the firmament and one the underworld. The bow tie, it's the dot in the middle of the X, okay? The meeting point where the yin meets the yang. It's the bow tie. That's why Masons wear the bow tie. It's the hourglass or infinity. So that go back to that number 8, meaning infinity. I know everybody was taught that the interlocking 8 figure, that means infinity. Well, that's what you're looking at when you look at the hourglass, people. That's what you're looking at when you look at the X, people, the X chromosome, people. All right, you're looking at infinity. That's the interlocking 8. It's nothing to fear. It's infinity. So the 8, if you keep stacking those 8s on top of each other, you just creating DNA, which is the code of infinity. All right, and it can never break. Just like that hourglass will keep on flipping, keep flipping. The sand will keep going from one side to the other side. Just like night and day will keep going from one side to the other side. Just like when you breathe, your lungs will go in and out, in and out. Just like your heartbeat, it'll contract, expand, night and day. It's just a polarity continuum that we're in, people, okay? It's a dual nature to the divine feminine. That's why the left side of your body plus the right side of your body creates your whole body. The left side of the yin and the right side being the yang creates the yin yang. All right, because those two are together, you get that S in the middle, which is the symbol of eternity, because that's the wave. All right, that's the wave. That's the straight line, the horizon. Because when you look at the spiral, that symbolizes infinity. But if you straighten it out, the plus sign still symbolizes infinity also. And if you take that plus sign and tilt it over, you get the X. You can't escape this symbol. It's the X. It's the sign we use for division, with one dot up a line, then another dot. It's always as above, so below. So in the division sign, it'll be dot, line, dot. It's the plus sign. It's the figure 8. It's the bow tie. It's the hourglass. It's the planisphere that you looking at that look like Saturn. So you got to tie all of this stuff in, people. And I'm going to be doing videos on a swastika and all of that. And we're going to get even deeper. If you stack a bunch of hourglass on top of each other, you get DNA, infinity, or the vortex, the spiral. It's the same thing, people. So as I was saying earlier, all of this works the same way with the Merkaba, as I explained on how we come into being. And that's where you get the famous quote from, to be or not to be. See, when you say the quote to be or not to be, you just did the ritual that I've been showing y'all this whole video, where you have a dome, a midpoint, and a bowl going the other way. This whole pattern I've been showing y'all in the video, you actually say the pattern when you say to be or not to be. You just did it in a verbal way. So when you to be, you come into existence, or not will be your midpoint in between, where you can go either up or down. Then to be done in the end, okay? So you're gonna become, then you're gonna be done. And you notice that when you look at your alphabet, your C come before your D. So you're gonna become, and then you're gonna be done, all right? When you come into being in this cosmic hive. So when we talk about this bee goddess, we talking about the divine mother, the divine feminine, the vortex energy. Because when you look at the X, that's all you looking at, the vortex energy. When you look at the X, you just looking at a two-dimensional spiral, okay? So to be in existence, understand how significant that is, to be in existence, all right? Because to exist, you had to come through the X chromosome in order to exist. So now you're in a state of being. All right. So when you get busy, you buzzing, busy or buzzy. Bees buzz because they busy. Us bees in this hive need to be busy doing the work of the queen or of the queen bee. All right. If we take care of the queen bee, she'll take care of us. If we take care of the earth, she'll take care of us.